Bienvenidos and welcome to Latinos Who Thrive, the podcast where we celebrate the resilience, innovation, and unstoppable spirit of Latino leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers. I'm your host, Victor Escalante, and in each episode, we dive into the journeys of extraordinary Latinos who are redefining success on their own terms. From business and leadership to personal growth and community impact, we bring you real conversations, actionable insights, and the inspiration you need to elevate your life and career. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned executive, or someone looking for motivation to take the next big step, this is a place for you. Today, we have a very special guest, Elayne Kramer, who is a sixth-generation circus artist from Argentina. Her journey in the circus world began at the tender age of 4 under the guidance of her father, and by age 7, she mesmerized audiences as a contortionist. So let's get on with it. And now we have Elayne Kramer. Elayne, welcome to Latinos Who Thrive.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are making history as the first contortionist to appear on Latinos Who Thrive. I had to look it up to find out what that was. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to become a contortionist?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me, and I'm very thrilled to be the first contortionist here. Hello to everyone listening. So I come from a circus background. Both my mom and dad are from circus. And I started finding interest in different performers at a very young age. So when I was 4, I saw my first contortionist, and I remember looking at my dad and being like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And so I began my journey of training my body to be able to get my body to be as flexible as I could. A lot of contortionists are born double jointed. I am not, so I had to get my body to be this way. And that being said, I can't really take too long of a time off because then it becomes very difficult to come back into it.
So Elayne, one of your signature poses is you being upside down, hanging on some sort of balance beam or some object, with you being able to shoot a bow and an arrow with your feet. How long
Yeah.
did that feat take you?
So that's I there's very few contortionists in the world that can do that. I'm one of them. And so the trick consists on being on a handstand on these high type of long pedestal, which we call canes. And so I'm on my hands on this pedestal, and then my feet go over my head to pull a bow. It took a lot of practice because I started practicing this trick when I was about 7 years old. And I had only ever seen pictures, like a still picture of someone doing it. So me and my dad were basically just looking at the picture and trying to figure out how to make that up, a movement in total. Um, so it took a lot of practice. I think the first time I ever did it on stage, so I started practicing that at 7, and I think 2 years later I was able to perform it on a stage. So it took a good long while to get that one going. Um, but yeah, and it's really amazing in the space. If you haven't seen the show here in Chicago, it's really amazing because the space is in the round. So the stage is in the middle of the room and people are around it. So I'm basically shooting at a target over people's heads, which is really incredible.
Do you have a YouTube video that we can put in the show notes of that performance?
Yeah, I believe we have a few videos from the show here. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have that in the show notes, guys, that are listening to this show. I want to backtrack though, because when your publicist first contacted me, these were the thoughts that came to me. This is some sort of eccentric person, that again, she's an artist, no question at what she does, but she is born in Argentina, and her family comes from being circus performers. So I thought, what an eccentric kind of person this must be. But when I started to watch your video bio, I found out that you were born in Guadalajara, Mexico. So, talk to me about your family roots a little bit more because maybe some of our listeners are going to have that same type of stereotype. Because again, we don't know. We don't know what we don't know until we're exposed to someone as yourself that can really educate us on what it's like to be that kind of performer and to be born into a family that are really dedicated. This is almost like a calling, I would say, to spend all your life doing something like this that I'm sure is a very challenging lifestyle. So the stereotype that came to me is these are bohemian gypsies that they cannot live in a structured society and they need to always be on the road. They always need to always be performing. So talk to us about a little bit more about being born in Guadalajara. What was that like with having parents from Argentina on tour, touring in a circus in Guadalajara to be born there?
Yeah. So, it's always so interesting to me because I find that it's not like the most interesting part of myself, but I also understand that people have not lived that life. And so for me, what seems super normal is living in a trailer and traveling everywhere and not having a stable home, just basically making my home wherever I go to work. And that seems very normal to me. So as many circus families, the kids are oftentimes born in other countries or other cities or, all across the world. I have a cousin who was born in Japan. It just depends where your parents are working at the time that you happen to be born. And it happened that both my parents are from Argentina. My mom is from Buenos Aires and my dad is from Cordoba in Argentina. They were touring in Mexico with a big circus. It was El Circo de Capulina. So Capulina, I don't know if you know, but he was a comedian on TV and became very famous for that. And so he had his own circus that he took on tour all over Mexico, and Matt and Harry were part of that show. Yeah.
That's no, that what an interesting piece of history.
Yeah, so I actually was born during the time that my parents were at Capolina Circus. And when I was 2 years old, my parents left Mexico, went back to Argentina. I was able to go and revisit Mexico again and get to see my beautiful country. When I was about 14 years old, I went back and I was able to go to Guadalajara, which is gorgeous. Um, and ever since they've been traveling, we came to the United States not long after that. And then I still travel everywhere. I've been to over 25 countries all over the world. And when I was younger, I did a lot of circus competitions. So it's kind of, they bring all these circus performers from everywhere and they have medals. They all compete to get the gold, and you have the gold, the silver, and the bronze. And so I did a lot of those competitions around the world in my younger years. But I, it's such a normal life for me. Like currently with Teatro Zanzani, all the people that are not local to Chicago, they put them in apartments. So currently I'm living in an apartment. Oftentimes I live in hotels and I familiarize myself in the space because I'm so used to that. Most of my life I lived in RV trailers. So, you had lights when you had lights, you had, running water when you had running water. And I just you get very accustomed to living a life of just being on the road all the time. And actually during the pandemic, I think I kind of missed it a little bit. I got to stay in one place for over 2 years and I was like, wow, my skin started itching. I was like, I need to go and explore and, you know.
You're a
But
free spirit. You're a free spirit that needs to be free to roam. So tell me, Elaine, how many generations in your family tree are there of circus performers?
So, it's funny that you mentioned earlier the word gypsy because I think that has a very negative connotation nowadays, but I really embrace it. I think it's great, and I actually we go back to the gypsy era back when on my mom's side of the family. So, her side of the family is a little harder to track because they go so far back that it's before a time that this kind of word circus was maybe not even a thing. It was just entertainers, street performers is what they called it. And they would travel back in caravans with horses and get to towns, and they had the palm reader and, the juggler and, the a lot of like the sideshow kind of characters as well, traveling with them, like the bearded lady and stuff like that. But became more popularized later on, so it's harder to track her history. But on my dad's side, I'm the seventh generation of circus performer. So yeah, the line goes way back. My family's been in circus. My dad's side of the family, they come from Germany and Spain, and on my mom's side of the family, Spain and Italy. Yeah, it goes way back, and I'm very proud to continue this family business. I love it too. It's great.
So obviously, it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of dedication to do the daily routines in order to be able to do the performance well. So, how many hours a day do you have to exercise and rehearse before a performance at night?
Yeah, I think that would be probably like the hardest thing to juggle because as age comes to be, your body doesn't is not as flexible or doesn't recover as fast. So I find that balance is key to all of this stuff. Um, when I'm working on a new project, like an opening of a show or working on a new routine, I'm definitely putting in about 3 to 4 hours in a day, sometimes even more, depending on how long our rehearsal schedules go. But when it comes to the day to day, I feel like I do stretch for an hour every day. I try to keep that in mind. But when it comes to doing like training, like endurance and stuff like that, I keep it to a minimum when it when I have days off. Because today, for instance, is my day off, and we got another day off tomorrow. And we have such long schedules during our work week that it's better to kind of balance that out and not have uh, that much time. So I also like to go and work out at the gym, which is very different from what I do, but it's kind of also kind of keeping my body in shape. And the flexibility, I would say, is the one thing that I don't really leave behind. I really try to do that every day because I'm not, like I said, I'm not naturally flexible. So the more I do it, the easier it is for me.
What is the average life of a performer as a circus performer, just in general terms?
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends on the profession, like contortion. I'm kind of reaching that limit. I am currently 33, and this is pretty much a peaking point, especially because when it comes to women, if you're planning to have a child or something, then your body doesn't come back the same way, and too many time away from it. And but there is different things that in circus you can do, like aerial acts and stuff like that, where you're hanging on a trapeze or something that you can prolong the life of that. Um, I don't know. I know people in their 60s that still perform. So, and it's a hard thing to leave behind. It's such a crazy life. It's very difficult to go from such a such an active and um, thrilling lifestyle to then not do it is very difficult. My dad's struggling through that. He's been a performer his whole life, and he currently does comedy. But even nowadays, he gets a little too. too worked up about it, and I'm like, "Dad, you gotta slow down," and it's really hard, to slow down, especially because your brain is still active and still wants to do things, and your body just can't keep up sometimes.
I can imagine that you get addicted to the adrenaline rush. Yeah, building up, performing, and then afterwards. I have a hard time imagining going from that to being a Walmart greeter.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's such a fulfilling thing, like my favorite thing. We have our struggles. I mean, of course, we go through some people break their bones when they perform. I go through a lot of back pain and I have arthritis, so it's not very easy for me to do what I do. Stuff like that. Everyone has their struggles and the things that they go through, but nothing can compare to seeing, the crowd reacting to what you do, and I've always been a believer that I wanted to use my body, to create art, and it's really fulfilling when you see, like, people's reactions, especially to something like contortion where, like, a lot of people don't even cannot even imagine, like, I have a trick where I balance on my teeth, so it's like a pole sticking out of my tabletop, which is my prop, and there's a mouth grip on it, which I bite into, and then I contort myself so that where my legs are over my head, and then I lift my arms so that I'm only balancing with my teeth. It is a very difficult thing to describe. So your listeners are gonna have to find pictures and videos of that. I can send some to you, but it's something that some people have never seen before. So to see their reactions and then to hear them say like, "Oh, I just went through surgery and I can't even tie my shoelaces right now, but you've given me the courage or the hope to like keep going and keep, whatever it is that people are going through." It it's nice to think that, you're putting a positive mindset into other people.
I do want to get into the mindset because you really do have a unique mindset to do what you do. But I want to comment that particular act that you're describing, that takes a lot of physics and a lot of understanding of the physiology that we possess and what the body is capable of doing. Along the lines of like I've done, and I would not say this to compare myself to you because there really isn't any comparison. But I walked on fire. I've walked on broken glass. I've broken an arrow with my throat. I bit a steel bar with my throat also. And again, people don't know the limits of their body until they explore their limits because again, there's so much that we're capable of doing that we just don't know how much we're capable of doing until we have to.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'm a big believer too that your mind is so powerful. The biggest villain, would you say, is I think just being like, I can't, I'm not able to, or it's not possible. Those are words that I remember my dad was one of my coaches growing up, and he would always say, like, I don't ever want to hear you say, I can't, it's not possible. It's like you don't want to is a different story, but like never say I can't and it's not possible because uh you're there, the sky is the limit. Whatever you decide you want to do, if you really put your mind into it, you can. And not only that, but like I feel like a lot of it has to do with, and this is why it's very important for kids. Kids have such a imagination and the energy, all of the things that when you get older you lose. And I think that whenever people say like put your kids into, whatever they want, if they want to put their mind into singing or karate or, dancing or whatever sports that they decide to do, it's good to do it as a child because there's no negative, there's not that negative voice in your head telling you, "Oh, you can't do that. Your knees will give up," or whatever it is. I think kids have the capability of going through it because they don't have that fear monger that lives inside your head, you know? And it's hard to get through it as an adult too.
Absolutely. So I want to go into your mindset because because again, it is that mindset that you absolutely have to have in order to be able to do what you do, because everything starts in the mind. Whatever you think you can or can't do becomes a reality based upon the energy that you put into it and where your attention flows. So, as a little girl starting out, again, you modeled, I'm sure, a lot of your parents' moves and performances, and other really artisans that you were exposed to in the performance space. So, what, as a little girl, what were some of your thoughts as you started to develop more difficult acts? What did you have to battle your own mindset that your dad had to coach you, or what was it like?
Um, well, I find that in a sense it's easier the way that I was raised. Um, because I was in a traditional circus setting where there is families with kids. And they're all traveling with their families and being able to see other people. Like I said, I know people that are in their 60s and they're still performing. So when you have inspiration like that, it's very hard for you to be like, well, if that guy can do it, why can't I? You know? So and then there's the whole, other kids, um, there's that whole like, oh, well, I can do a cartwheel. Well, I can do a cartwheel too. I can do a backflip. And so it's a really nice environment to kind of figure out what your body is capable of doing. You're pushing your body to doing these things. And um, in my case, I really found what I loved very young. Some kids don't find it that young, some kids struggle. I've had family members who went through multiple phases. They did the juggling, they did, the high wire, and they did the hand balancing, and they did, the horseback riding and the training animals, and they couldn't find their niche until later on in life. I fell in love with contortion when I saw it. And so I feel very lucky that I was able to spend all of my younger years being able to develop and perfect that art. But I've always really been passionate about what I do. And it's never been about what I can do. It's always been about what more can I do?
You're listening to Latinos Who Thrive with special guest Elayne Kramer. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to break free from trauma and unlock your full potential? Introducing Escalante Mind Recode, EMR, a revolutionary science-backed method that rewires deep emotional patterns and eliminates trauma at the root. Developed by Victor Escalante, EMR combines neurolinguistic programming, clinical hypnosis, brain spotting, and positive intelligence to activate your mind's natural healing power. Unlike traditional talk therapy, EMR works at the neurological level, targeting the subconscious for rapid and lasting emotional breakthroughs, often in just a few sessions. Heal past trauma, eliminate emotional blocks, reprogram your subconscious mind for success. If you've struggled with anxiety, grief, PTSD, or limiting beliefs, EMR can help you transform your life today. Book your Escalante Mind Recode session now and experience true emotional freedom. Call 713-992-8279 or email victor@victorescalante.com. You will be glad you did for the rest of your life.
We now return you to Latinos Who Thrive with special guest Elayne Kramer.
And so, always trying to find something something else to kind of replace the things that you later on have to give up. Like there's certain tricks where my body just cannot do them anymore at 30. And I realize and recognize that I've been doing them over 20 years, So it's time to give some things up, to have a longer life with the art form that I've chosen. But also you learn other things, you become more comfortable in the space of doing what you do. I believe this is the same for everything. I had a conversation like this with a comedian in the show as well. And I'm kind of getting a little bit into comedy because of the environment that I'm in. I'm able to like kind of freestyle some jokes into the show and stuff. And it's always been such a fear for me. My dad's a comedian, and I've always been like, that's the hardest thing. Out of all of the things, the hardest thing is to make people laugh because, and you have to go back out there. And if they don't laugh, it's like if you don't clap at what I do and you don't like it, that's cool. There's something for everybody. The next act will come on and you might be impressed by them. But with comedy, if you're the comedian in the show, you got to keep coming out and keep trying to make people laugh. And that's always been such a scary thought for me. But, you know, and he was saying the same thing that my dad used to say to me when I was younger. It's like, well, you get comfortable in it. He's been doing it for so many years. And I feel like I've gotten to that point too, where it's like, I feel more comfortable. I've got more elegance or more class, than I used to when I was, in my teens doing this act. It was all about the power of the tricks that I was doing. And now it's more about how elegant, how beautiful can I make it, especially with contortion. I never liked contortion to look gross or scary or, you know, some people want to look away when they see contortion. And I've always strived to make it beautiful. That's always been my goal is to try to make contortion look beautiful and glamorous.
Yeah, the big question that what you do is a form of art because again, you are seeing something that you may only see once in a lifetime. And so when people, how does that make you feel when people really appreciate the spectacular show that you put on, and they respond very positively to you? What's it like to be in your body?
Um, I feel, what, it's kind of an outer body experience. We do, um, about 5 shows a week, and sometimes I've done other contracts where I do about 10 shows a week. So we get the chance to talk to people, and there's always like, "Oh, that was great," or "You were amazing," or you hear that. Especially when you're a part of such a great cast. It's not just me, but it's like everyone is so great and people are riding this roller coaster with us throughout the show, with the gasps of the aerialists and the laughs of the comedians and the beauty of the other, kind of dance style acts. And I think it's means a lot when people actually, I do get the occasional like really paying attention to things that other people won't, like being like, I've been a ballerina, I had a woman tell me that 2 weeks ago. Like I've been a ballerina my whole life. She was like, she was celebrating her 80th birthday back at
Wow.
the show. So she's like, I was a ballerina my whole life. And she's like, I've never seen such beautiful points, when you point your toes. And she goes, I've never seen such beautiful twins. And coming from a classical ballerina, I mean, that is the most wonderful thing I've ever heard. So, you know, having people be like, oh, I'm a yoga teacher and I know how hard it is to keep your body to doing that when you get older, or people that really can relate or, understand that what we're doing is not only beautiful, but it's also really difficult. I love resonating with people like that. Not only that, but also like the young kids that come and watch our shows, the little girls that, look at me and they're like, well, now I just told my mom I want to join a circus camp, and I want to learn, I want to learn to do what you do. And I think that's really great because it reminds me of when I was little and why I decided to do contortion because I saw, another contortionist. I think that's really beautiful.
I actually want to backtrack to a comment that you made about having an out of body experience because you literally do. I happen to know something about this. So again, correct me if I'm wrong. When you're in that zone of connecting with your audience, and everybody's sending you lots of appreciation through their clapping, there's a unified feel force to where you feel connected to all these people, and these people feel connected to you, that you raise your vibration so high that you actually leave your body and you go into your etheric body, which is again that energy field force outside of your physical body. And again, because it's such a high vibration of joy and happiness, very few people ever in life ever experience that kind of high, that kind of joyful, blissful experience, that I can see why this would be so addictive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you think about, if you've ever went to a concert,
Yes.
and you see the whole crowd chanting, you know, with the singers singing their songs and all moving in the same way. And, when everyone puts their lighters in the air and that everyone's moving in the same flow, it's like the whole space and everyone in it becomes one.
Exactly.
And to be a part not only of that experience, but to be the one causing people
Yeah.
the reaction is really amazing. And like you said, you're tuning in to everybody and having this connection that is more it's more than, this is the thing I feel like we're losing nowadays too with technology. It's we have this I have this conversation with audience members all the time, and it's like, as much as you want to pick up your phone and record what you are seeing, it is very important that you just experience this and just take it in.
Yes, because you are
You
not present when you're fumbling with a phone. You're thinking about what is going to be like viewing the recording, as opposed to just sensorily taking the whole present, the whole moment, without
Yes.
any distraction, without having your mind split, your attention split on more than one thing. You're absolutely right. I want to go back to something also that you said, Elaine. I took my little boy. He's now a big boy. He's 20 years old, but I took him to the circus at least 2 times. And the last time that I took him, I would not consider that a circus because a lot of the animal acts were gone, and to tell you the truth, it's like I don't even remember some of the acts other than the motorcycle performers, in the cage, in the circular cage, and lots of I mean lots of theatrics and lots of performers that were doing a lot of the gymnastic moves and stuff. But what's it like to see something that you grew up with and that you dearly love morph into something so generic?
Yeah, I think I sometimes struggle with, kind of accepting that when I have kids, they will not know what an actual like circus is, right? When you think about like back in the days, when you used to take your son, I feel like growing up in that, it's kind of like losing a part of myself as well. It's We're in the era of like Cirque du Soleil style performances, which are super theatrical and nonverbal, and they're great. And
I've been to a
you
couple
know,
performances of Circus Soleil, And you're right. It's more of a mixture of music and gymnasts that performers that are choreographed to the music from the two experiences that I went through. So that's all I know about Circus Soleil.
It yeah, it's great, but it's not a traditional circus and it's very different.
Is
Yeah. And and what I really appreciate about traditional circuses is that each individual act is not part of a it's not part of the theatrical storytelling. They each individually choose their music and their choreography and everything that they do, the costumes. My mom used to make her own costumes when she would perform, and she made a lot of my costumes. Um, so, people put not only the art that they show on stage, but they also show off their art in the costume design and the creation of the costume, in the creation of their music, in the style that they choose to perform and the movements that they decide to do. And so it's a collaboration of all of these things that make those acts unique. When it comes to Cirque, it's, you have one director that is directing the whole thing, and they have a vision that you must follow, and you have to follow the line, and you can't leave the line because it's not allowed. You need to follow the line, and I think that it's still a form of art form because, the director has their vision that they are creating, but these separate entities don't have their, um, their 2 cents into the characters that they are developing. So I think it's very important. It loses that. I think the whole animal situation, I'm not going to get too much into it. I've never had animal acts growing up. I think I wouldn't be able to do it. My dogs can't even listen to me. So, um, but I grew up in a very different time where we would have our trailer parked, and my mom always had a fruit bowl in the middle of the table, and if we had our window next to the table open, the elephants would stick their trunk in and steal our fruit from our fruit bowl. Like, I grew up in a time where, the elephants would help put the mastil, which is the big towers of the tent. They would help them put them up because we didn't have bobcats or, any kind of thing, truck to pull it. So the elephants would help pull that. Then they would let the horses run around the circus ring so that they could create the space so that the circus ring was flat for all of the props and the other things that were going to go there. I mean, I lived in a very different time, and even though there's a lot of like negative connotation with having animals in the circus, a lot of the things I grew up with um were not necessarily, you know, in a sense that I feel like a lot of the elephants, for instance, they're animals that need to be around other elephants and around humans. They crave that kind of interaction, and when animals are raised to doing things uh, in circus, a lot of times when they get taken out of that environment, they don't cope well. A lot of them die early or they get depressed.
just like
And it's the same like us. Yeah, for sure.
exactly.
For sure.
Now, you are a performer at a dinner theater. Talk to us about that because listeners that are in the Chicago area or will be in Chicago, they must come see you to talk. So, talk to us about that.
So Teatro Zanzani is a very unique style show. It's one of my favorite shows to perform in because honestly, we get a lot of freedom in our character development, and there is a lot of if you want to be close to the performers, this is the type of show you want to be in. That's for sure. We have all of us play different characters. The show itself is held inside of a a Spiegel tent, which is a Belgium style tent. It's all made out of wood and stained glass. And this tent is inside of the 14th floor of a hotel, of the Cambria Hotel here in the Loop in downtown Chicago. It's amazing to go in the elevator and then end up in the 14th floor and see this beautiful Belgium tent in there. It's surreal. It seems like a little diamond hidden away in Chicago. Um, they've done a really great job at leaving the, um, the exposed brick and all of what used to be the 14th floor because it kind of makes the space so much more magical. You know, you've got this beautiful, classy tent with these chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, and then you have this exposed brick wall, which is the original, wall that used to be on this building from years ago, back when there used to be like I think it was a fire department or a police department years ago back there. It has so much history already in the space, and to bring this over 100-year-old tent into the space is really unbelievable. And then once you go into the tent, that's, it's a whole new world in there. Um, every character that you will encounter is kooky and wacky. And that's exactly, what we want to make sure people that come in can just relax and, just have fun because that's what it's all about. Um,
Your description of it gives me a sense of Alice in Wonderland. It's
oh, for sure.
like you're walking into an experience that there's no point of reference with what you're going to see, feel, and potentially. Is it a dinner theater? People dine?
Yeah, it's a dinner theater.
Okay.
So instead of a show, I like to call it an experience because, like you said, it's from the moment the elevator doors open, it's something completely different. And it's a whole 3 hour experience from the time that you walk in to the time that you leave. The show itself is about 2.5 hours long. Um, you have, dinner breaks, meal breaks, so when you first sit down, you'll have your appetizer on the table, and then the amazing cocktail drinks that they keep revamping, are so good. So you're gonna wanna come without pre-gaming somewhere else if
Okay.
And the experience of the meals are amazing too. We have a wonderful chef who coordinates all these meals that are phenomenal. I think they just changed the menu as well, but you do get breaks. The show has little breaks in between so that you can sit down and eat without having to pay attention to the show. But within those breaks, that's when we what we call is animating. So the cast will come out and talk to people and play with them. We have a one of our cast members that does, they play with bubbles, so they have, like, bubbles that look like squares, or they do this beautiful thing. Then you have comedians coming out and doing, uh, playing with people and, having them do games and stuff, but it's more relaxed. When the show starts, it's everything happens on stage, and then that's where we want the focus to be. We have a live band as well in the show, which a lot of circus shows don't have, which we're really excited about. We've got amazing singers and we've got performers from all over. I'm, originally from Argentina, Mexico, and then we've got someone from Brazil, we've got someone from Ukraine, we've got people that are native from Chicago, we've got someone from New York and Seattle. I mean, the cast is amazing, and, you should definitely come watch it if you're in Chicago. This is an experience you won't get anywhere else, that's for sure.
And what do people label this experience as?
We like to say that it's an experience because it's very undescribable. Like, I've even had my own friends and family who know me and seen me in many different shows, and I'm like, "It's different from everything else." Um, so it's a mix between cabaret and, comedy and circus. So, a little bit of everything. Yeah, it's a big melting pot, just like we like it.
Sounds like a total chaos.
Yes, just like a chaos. We're all about the love, the chaos, and the dinner here at Teatro Zanzani. So definitely come watch us. Our shows normally run at 7. We do Thursdays to Sundays. So yeah, get your tickets. We do have matinee shows as well if you want to come for an early brunch at on Saturdays and have some mimosas and have a great experience.
What do people typically say when you interact with them?
So in the beginning of the show, it's really funny because I don't think anybody really realizes that we are um part of the performers who are going to be performing the show. Uh, um, my character in the show has a very long name on purpose. So I play Maria Elena Santos Jimenez de la Rosa Sanchez. And I am the coordinator and the supervisor for the performance. And I always tell people if you need anything, just call out my name. And then I repeat the name, which they're left like, what? How am I ever going to say that if I need you? We have our hula hoopist. Actually, she is like a flight attendant. So she serves fresh ice to people and little umbrellas if they want umbrellas with their drinks. It's a very kooky show, you know. Everyone plays different characters, and that's what we, try to fool people into thinking that we are these things, and then we have like a big reveal of our costumes, underneath, and then start our acts. So it's a surprise. Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. Any final words, Elayne, to our listeners? What would you want young women that are listening to us? What would you want them to know about being a performer for life?
I think that it's very important, especially nowadays, to just really kind of disconnect from technology sometimes. I take my Sundays off, and I think it's very important to disconnect to find yourself and find what you are passionate about and what you love in life and really focus on that. Whatever it is, whether you want to be, a performer, whether you want to be, a lawyer or a doctor, whatever it is, I think that we live in a time where we really need to make our dreams come true. And there's no better time like today. The United States has really given me a lot, you know. A lot of us come to this country for hope and the betterness of ourselves. So I think it's very important to focus on ourselves and strive and don't let anybody tell you that it's not possible because that's not true.
Well, thank you very much. You have an open door. You're always welcome to return and give us an update on your performances. If you have any new news, by all means, be sure and reach out to us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a
That's
pleasure.
gonna do it for today, friends. Until next week, go out and have a great week.